Okay, kids, Ham and Cheese back here with you again today. And up on the bench today, what you see in front of you is a basic starter kit for getting into the art and skill of soldering. We're talking about this today for a couple of reasons. Number one is we've been doing some builds and repairs here on the channel as of late. And this is a good time to lead into this now that we've been going over that stuff. And number two is we're getting into the time of the year where we're going to be indoors more now here in North America, especially here in the Northeast. We actually have a snowstorm getting ready to roll in the area. So that's fun. But we're going to be doing our indoor projects, our builds, our repairs, fixing sets that have broken over the summer. Maybe we're going to try our hand at electronics repair for the first time, whatever the case may be. And the third part is we're getting near the holidays. So you might be a parent, grandparent watching this, looking for something to get that tech-driven kid to keep them moving and keep them motivated in their STEAM projects. Or maybe they're starting to advance now where they're getting away from snap builds and they're starting to get into the soldering end of things with their robotics or whatever they're into. Okay? So that's what this is for. This is a good starter beginner kit. And we have some very basic components. We have the iron. We have an iron stand, solder, desoldering wick or desoldering braid, a suction pump or a solder sucker, and cleaning wire. These are the basic tools you need to get started. We'll talk about them all here in detail now. Let's start with the iron itself, okay? When you choose an iron, there's a couple things you want to look for. First and foremost, you want to look for something that has a bigger end between the handle and the element. And there's a couple reasons for that. Is one, this keeps the heat away from your fingers. But two is your fingers aren't going to slip off. If you see here, you can put a lot of effort into that and it's not going to slip off, okay? The other thing you want to look for is you want to look for something that has simple tips. You don't want T12 tips with these, okay? You want the simple small tips like these guys that you can easily change out, okay? Reason being is T12 tips are very expensive. They can be as much as $10 or $12 a piece. If for the decent ones, you can get garbage, but it's going to not last you very long. These, you burn them up, you're out a buck or two, okay? And the last thing you want to look for is you want to look for something that has a decent wattage rating. At least 40 to 50 watts, 65 to 75 is better. Okay? So those are your three things you want to look for. Now, let's talk about what a good iron will have name-wise. You can get into something like the Weller, and this is what we recommend on our channel. We recommend Weller because they're a well-established company. They've been around for over 80 years. They're here in the States. Most of their products are still made in the United States or Mexico. The support's fantastic, and it's easy to get parts for them. You can go with cheaper ones. This particular one, this was about $20 when we bought it. This is a discontinued 40-watt model. But the comparable 60-watt model is about $30. But you can go with a cheaper one. But here's the kicker. You find these used on Facebook Marketplace. You find them at the flea market, stuff like that. You can get into a really nice older Weller that still has a lot of life left in it for maybe $5 or $10. And it's going to last you forever. Okay? The second part we're going to talk about is the iron stand. The stand is here for two reasons. One, it's a safety item. We place the iron into it like so, and it stays in there. It doesn't come out, okay? If you leave this thing lay on the table, somebody comes by, they hit it, and it comes flying off, and you get burned. You put this in, you got to really work to get it out of there, okay? That's why we use it number one first and foremost. Number two is it holds a sponge. The sponge is for, as we're doing work, we're going to build up debris and residue on these tips. You take that sponge, wipe off, you're good to go. Plain and simple. And it keeps you moving. Things to look for in the stand. You want something that has a good spring on it. Nice heavy duty spring like this one does. You can see how thick that metal is. You don't want something with thin metal on these, okay? And you should get one that's completely circular versus the open tops. The open tops are okay, but if you're just getting started, get one that's completely sealed. That way you know it's in there and it's going to stay in there. Okay? The other thing is you want a solid base on this. Something that you're going to have to really work towards to knock over. If you got some weight into it, you've got a solid base, you've got a solid top, you're good to go. Something like this, in this style, this is an old Radio Shack. I've had this thing probably close to 20 years now. But if you want something simple like this, you can still get them from Radio Shack. I'm not sure what the price is, but you can get them on Amazon, $5-10, no problem. Okay. Next, we'll talk about the solder itself. And the solder you want to choose is going to be a rosin core solder. You choose rosin core because this has flux already built into it. And you choose rosin core because it melts at lower temperatures. Okay? And you want this stuff for electronics. This is for electronics. If you look on the back here, it gives you some stuff about it as well. But rosin core solder is what you want. You don't want to use plumber's solder with this. You don't want the stuff off the shelf from Lowe's or anything like that. You want to get this from somebody who does electronics. Okay? A typical rosin core solder will be a 60-40 tin lead mix, or a 63-37 as well is acceptable. I like 60-40 myself. Melts a little faster. Okay? When you look at the end of it, you can kind of see it's got that yellowish or gold tinge to it right in the center. That's the flux core. The other thing we do with flux core solder or rosin core solder is it provides better flow, like I said, melts at lower temperatures, and it provides a cleaner product overall. Okay? Now we've talked about the solder and how to apply it. Let's talk about how to get it off the board for a second. We have two tools. We have the desoldering wick and we have the suction tool. Desoldering wick or desoldering braid, they're both interchangeable. It's the same stuff. Is something you put directly on the component or the board, and you just hold it in there like so. You would just press right down on it like so, and it would pull that solder out. You can see the globs of solder this one's already started to pull out. And this section still has life left in it. You can spread this apart and you can open it up wide to get it to do what you need to do. The other option is a desoldering pump, or a solder sucker as they call them. Okay? And what a desoldering pump does is it uses suction, you can see right here, to pull the solder up off the board. This has a heavy duty spring in it, and we'll open it up real quick and show you. It's got a nice heavy spring in it. You can see the spring down in there. And then this part here is the plunger itself, and it all comes together and holds together to bring it all up. Okay? So that's how you get the solder off. The last part is we have to maintain this tip to keep it nice and make it last for a long time. You'll get burn on it like so, and that's okay if you burn it and you corrode it up some. But it's really not corrosion. That's more just burn and wear on there. This can be cleaned and brought back to new, no problem. That's where this cleaning wire comes into play. And what the cleaning wire does is you're going to have this nice and hot when you do it. You're going to put the wire in, or put the tip into the wire, and you're just going to run it around a few times like so. Run it around, run it around, run it around, and it's going to clean all that off. Now this isn't going to clean off because it's not hot, but after you clean that, you're going to use something like this soldering chemical paste to bring it all together and take care of it. Now you don't necessarily need this, but we have it here on the bench anyway because we do a lot of stuff here. If you're just getting started, you clean that off, and then you take an alcohol wipe or something like that with some pure alcohol, 98-99%, and you wipe that down real good. It's going to do the same thing for you. And then you would just take your solder and tin it up again. You can actually wrap this around a couple times, let it melt in, and it'll hold to it then just the same as well. Okay? So let's talk real quick again about pricing altogether. Irons, a decent iron will run you about $20 to $30 new. Like I said, you can pick a Weller up at the flea market, $5 or $10, and it's going to have years of life left in it. The iron stand, $5 to $10. Sometimes you can get these two as a pair for $25 or $30, and that's a good way to go as well. The solder itself, a half-pound roll like this will run you about $10. You can get smaller rolls for $4 or $5, but you want to get yourself at least a half-pound. This way you can practice with it, things like that. The soldering wick, you can get a couple rolls of this for about $5, $6. The suction pumps, 2 or 3 of them for $4 or $5. And then this stuff here, you can go 2 options with this. You can buy these outright, these wires, and they look like little Brillo pads. They'll come in a pack like a Brillo pad. You get 3 of them for $5 or $6. Or you can buy a little thing that they sit in, and it would sit like so, and you would just run into it like that. And those things are like $18 or $20. That's why we go this route, and then we use a tuna can to hold it all together. Okay? So there it is. Basic soldering kit 101. Nice little starter set to get you going. If you liked what you saw here, be sure to tell 2 friends. If you didn't, tell me directly. If you saw something here that we missed that we could put to this, let us know. Drop it in the comments, what you would add to it or what you think may be more beneficial to somebody. Because together we're all here to learn and grow. Okay? And also, links will be in the description for everything. And remember, with our Amazon links, we are an affiliate. So every time you buy something, we get a little commission back on it. And even if you click through our link, but don't buy anything and move on to the next, we still get a little piece of that action as well because you went through our link to get there. So keep that in mind as well. And remember, it doesn't cost you anything extra to get it that way either. Okay? So with that, I will say 7-3 to you. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you on the next one. And also remember, keep it cheap and easy, just like me.